You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Hi, I'm Mike, founder of DollarShaveClub.com. What is DollarShaveClub.com? Well, for $1 a month, we send high-quality razors right to your door. Yeah, $1. Are the blades any good? No. Our blades are f***ing great. Each razor has stainless steel blades, an aloe vera lubricating strip, and a pivot head. It's so gentle a toddler could use it. And do you like spending $20 a month on brand name razors? 19 go to Roger Federer. I'm good at tennis. And do you think your razor needs a vibrating handle, a flashlight, a back scratcher, and 10 blades? Your handsome-ass grandfather had 1 blade and polio. Looking good, pop up! Stop paying for shave tech you don't need. And stop forgetting to buy your blades every month. Alejandro and I are going to ship them right to you. We're not just selling razors, we're also making new jobs. Alejandro, what were you doing last month?
Not working.
What are you doing now?
Working.
I'm no Vanderbilt, but this train makes hay. So stop forgetting to buy your blades every month and start deciding where you're going to stack all those dollar bills I'm saving you. We are DollarShaveClub.com, and the party is on.
I know karate, I know jiu-jitsu, and drive like a gangster when I'm coming to see you, see you, see you, see you.
In the Crease is back. The show about anything that crosses my path returns Sunday, October 15th at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Where are we going this time, Dad?
Great question, EP. Season 3 is back with the 4th annual Nobel Prize show. Physics, chemistry, medicine, literature, economic sciences, and of course, we will find out if the midget from Ukraine somehow manages to win the Nobel Peace Prize. All of this and more on episode 43 of In the Crease, October 15th, here on KLRNradio.com.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is, if getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now, 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program will contain coarse language, adult themes, copious amounts of drinking, flying chonklers, and, watch out for the machete, too. Just saying. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to another episode of The Cocktail Lounge. I am your hostess with the mostest, Aggie, and with me as always is the ever suave, affable, and quaffable co-host, Brad Slater. How are you doing this evening, Brad?
I am doing fantastic. It's a big day of the year. The NHL has started.
I was going to say it has to do with the NHL dropping the puck.
Indeed, all is right with the world. Well, as we're going to find out. No, it's not, but I mean, at least in mine.
Quick shout out. We have our friend Mike. He's in the chat. He's still in the hospital. They still don't know what's going on. And I just wanted to let him know we are praying and pulling for you. You're in our thoughts every day and every evening, okay? We hope you get better soon, Mike. Love you.
Well, he made it. Cool. That's
he's going to be listening. But yeah, they still don't know what's going on. So
hey, Mike. Guess what tomorrow is?
I can't with you. Now that stupid camel's in my head.
There you go. You're welcome.
Anyway, as you were saying, the NHL has opened. It's time for hockey season. They dropped the puck and everybody's happy, except a few people are not very happy with the NHL right now.
Oh, who's not?
Oh, the woke crowd, because the NHL actually came out and said none of this pride shit is going to be enforced.
And the thing is, it's not that they banned the pride. They banned pretty much anything political going on in pre-games. That's what it is. So, of course, you mean pride, and therefore you're a bunch of homophobes, and therefore just because 6 guys complained about it. No, it's not because 6 players complained about it. It's because you people complained about the 6 players that stayed in the locker room and didn't want to go out for pre-skate. That's the problem.
That's the problem. That they stood up for their rights, and you guys didn't like that they didn't bend the knee. That was the problem.
Yeah, so they're going to sit there and, those 6 guys, it's all their fault. Like, no, you losing your mind and being incapable of dealing with somebody not agreeing with you is the reason. So you look in the mirror, and there you go.
Yeah, they some chick called them cowards, and I'm like, let me get this straight. They're cowards because they stood up for their rights against the massive horde of wokeism. They're cowards? They actually
have stood up to the mob. That sounds kind of brave, actually. And incurring all the wrath of the Canadian media. I swear, I loved last season when a couple of guys did this. And I forget his name, too. He's on one of the morning shows, but he's like their sports announcer, but also the co-host. And he's losing his ever-loving mind on, let me tell you something. These guys right here, they don't go out and play. They should have their contract. They should be deported. They should get kicked out of the country. And because they don't have rainbow tape on their stick. I mean, you want to deport people for this. I think I get a sense of what's wrong in Canada. This is just that's specifically the reason why the league is saying this, because of that kind of reaction. So you only got yourselves to blame, Mr. Activist. Instead of being happy that you're being recognized, it's 24 players come out and skate in rainbow attire, but 25 didn't, and that's a problem.
Had they left it alone, had they let people do whatever they want, it would have been fine. But no, they had to insist everybody, all or nothing. So the NHL said, you know what? We're here to play games. We're not here to be political. So it's nothing.
If you're going to say all or nothing, we're going to take B. Go with that and keep the screeching. So I hope you're happy. Now you have 0 rainbows in 0 teams across the league. Is that better? I don't think so, but okay.
And not even during practice. You can't even use rainbow tape. You can't do any of that shit. They just said hard no across the board. And I'm like, yay.
And personally, I could give it to him. My daughter's gay and loves hockey. And she, when that comes up, and I'll send her, some pictures of the Panthers that have the rainbow tape on their sticks or something. She's like, oh, that's so cool. That's so awesome. And then the game is played and it's all forgotten. That's the extent of it. Oh my gosh, they care. But the thing is, I love the explanation too. It's always, well, this makes it indicates that the game is open and inviting to people of different opinions and sexes, and it's like, okay, well, you're still welcome. Nobody's keeping you away.
Yeah.
I don't recall a time where gays were banished from the stadium. I'm sorry, but I've been going to hockey most of my life, and I don't think I've ever seen that occur. So, sorry, I don't get your argument there. You're gay if you're black, if you're a woman, if you're a guy. Nobody gives a rat's ass. It's just what sweater is on. What team is that for? That's what people get interested in. And even that doesn't flare people up, because I party all the time with people from the other team. I mean, hell, I went to a game last year and I was surrounded probably by 40 people wearing Toronto Maple Leafs jerseys in our section. And we were just, by the second period, we were all laughing with each other and having a blast. And it's,
Yeah.
even Canadians were welcome, you see. So,
It kind of reminds me of the time that I was at a restaurant in Dallas, and apparently it had been after a Stars game or something. Everybody was wearing Stars, and I was wearing my Edmonton Oilers shirt. And I was treated with the utmost respect. Don't get me wrong. I mean, hockey is a totally different. It's not like football where you do fear for your life in certain groups.
I've been to Dolphin games and people lose their mind, and I'm talking to Dolphin fans as much as anybody else. And it's weird that a violent game like hockey, you'd never see people get violent in the stands. And I mean, ever. It's usually people are in a great mood, if anything. If you got a jersey on from the other team, sometimes, they might rib you a little bit, but then they'll raise the beer and toast you or something. It's about the most animosity you're going to get. And for the most part, it's communal. Everybody's on the same page, and it's just like, oh, that's cool. Who do you play for? What's that minor league team you're wearing? And, you could talk to pretty much anybody at a hockey game. Football, not so much.
No, I was, I went to visit a friend of mine in Philadelphia years and years ago. I think this was in 2008, 2009. And straight off, he tells me, do not wear any colors when you come to town. And I was like, what are you talking about? There's nothing of the Dallas Cowboys, nothing of the Houston, whatever team y'all have right now. Nothing of any Texas team whatsoever. And I was like, well, I really don't own anything, but why? He says, you're coming to Philadelphia. He felt that was enough of an explanation. I still didn't understand until I was there. These people are hostile. So I was like, yeah, I am never wearing anything from outside of Philadelphia to Philadelphia, as long as I want to live. So football is completely different. Like I said, I never had a problem, wearing an opposing team's T-shirt to, a hangout of the Dallas Stars or, the Arrows or whatever hockey team I was nearby visiting for whatever reason. They were all like, I had two women ask me where I got my shirt. I was like,
yeah, you're bound to get that. I mean, I've got an Arrows sweater myself, and I can wear that to a game too. And people, I'll be walking through the concourse, and every so often somebody will say, "Oh man, that's awesome." So you'll get better people. It's a better crowd, let's just say, at hockey. So yeah, it's a big day. It's day one of the NHL lengthy season, and hey, I'm thrilled also because that means we don't have to talk about football.
Yeah, I'd rather not. Although I want to, because our buddy Mike is laid up, I want to tell him congratulations on Alabama.
Yeah.
The Aggies,
Mike is in the hospital, and yet he's managed to make us sick. Nick Saban won again.
It cheered him up. So there.
Whatever. He can. Mr. Affleck himself got another W. Okay, super wonderful. But yeah, how about that Miami game Saturday night? Son of a bitch. I mean,
yeah.
I kind of felt bad because I opened a game and they're wearing their all black uniforms. They call them the Miami Knights. It's actually kind of a cool. I didn't like the neon green numbering, the bright green numbers. Dark green looks a little better on the black jerseys, but what was cool is they went with the black helmets, but the U symbol on the helmet was outlined in green and orange, like almost like it was a neon green and orange.
Oh, wow.
And empty in the middle. So that looked kind of sharp. I like that. But it seems like anytime they wear the black, they don't usually play too well. Now, granted, it did rain a lot on Saturday, not to make excuses. They were heavily favored. I think by at least 2 touchdowns plus. Struggled throughout, but then they got control of the game. They took a 3-point lead, and they had the ball with about 3 minutes to go. So they had a sustained drive, killed the clock. They're down to like 38 seconds. 3rd down. What do? Victory formation, right? You take a knee.
Right. Tell me they
No.
did. No?
No, they decided to run the ball. Now, granted, we were running the ball very well all game, but they run the ball, about 4-yard gain. Guy gets tackled. Ball comes loose.
Oh.
Tech recovers. Now, one of the replays, it did look like his elbow was down, but on that angle, you couldn't tell where the football was. So you didn't know exactly when the ball came. He was down, but they called it a fumble. So Tech gets it with like 24 seconds to go. They get a pass for like 15 yards. And then somehow the secondary lets a receiver get behind him. 40-yard chuck, touchdown, game. 2 seconds remain. I mean, it was as stupid.
I'm so sorry. I really am. I don't want to talk about my game.
You guys played pretty good, though, didn't you?
We played okay.
The thing is, they shut you down in the second half. That's what.
Yes, happened. And the problem is always the third quarter is where we lose the game. And I've told this to everybody, and nobody listens to me. And then, I had guests over the weekend, and we were watching both the Longhorn game, and because it was Texas versus Oklahoma, and they were Texas fans, and so we watched that game first, and could not believe some of the calls that were being made. And even I, who is probably the biggest football noob, here at KILR, and could tell that some of those calls were very questionable against UT. And we all know here, right now, UT is not my favorite team. But even I will call out when something goes, that's not fair or, was called wrong or whatever. So, that was kind of a disappointing game, but not for our producer, Rick. It was a great game for Rick.
It was a great game in general, though. I mean,
it really was.
Played, I mean, right down to the wire, last minute touchdown for Okies, and yeah, I mean, we had to go out and buy supplies and everything for our Sunday morning, but I was watching it in the store.
Mm-hmm.
And again, making fans, I'm like sitting there strolling the aisle, and I got the game on it, and somebody was like, "Oh, wait, is that what's the score?"
Yeah. It was, then it was our turn against Alabama. And I said, we're going to lose. And my friends were like, "Oh, don't be so defeatist. You guys are favored by 2 points." I said, "Yeah, that means we're going to lose." I said, "I can tell you right now, and we're going to lose it in the third quarter." And sure enough, we fell apart in the third quarter. And, my friends were like, how did you call that? You don't even know football. No, but this is a pattern that has long been established with the Aggies under Jimbo. They lose it in the third every single game. And, admittedly, they'll win some games, but they'll have to come back in the fourth. But the third quarter is always their worst quarter. So I said, you can't afford to lose your momentum with a team like Alabama. And they did. So I told them, I was like, "I'm telling you, we're going to lose. We're going to lose by this much." And we sure did. It wasn't a blowout.
But It was kind of, I can see your point though. It was frustrating. You didn't get I think he had a late field goal in the fourth, and that was it for the second half. So that's their defense kind of locked you down. They kind of woke up enough, and yep. So it was a rather dispiriting Saturday, I gotta say. But Sunday was pretty good. We Dolphins had a great game, and
Dolphins did great. Bills did not, and neither did the Cowboys.
the hell is going on in Dallas, man? It's like 2
I
weeks
don't
in a
know
row.
what
They
happened.
look like dog shit.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I was unable to watch the game. Again, they did not televise it here for reasons still not disclosed to me, a paying subscriber. But yeah, I was listening to part of it and trying to follow it online, and everything. And I'm like, I don't understand. Who showed up to play? I don't understand. It was really, really bad. I mean, a score of 42-10. The last time I saw that exact score, I was attending Texas A&M, and we had just blown, I think it was Auburn, and Bo Jackson was playing. Was it Auburn? No, it was not. It was...
Well, that's who Bo Jackson played for.
Yes, but it was for a Cotton Bowl. It was a Cotton Bowl, and I think it was Notre Dame. But I have to go again and look.
But hey, the Jesuit bastards at least lost.
Yes, that was like the only great thing that happened this past weekend as far as college football went for me.
So both the Catholics and the convicts lost.
I was happy.
Brad's not bitter.
Not at all.
25, 30 freaking years ago, and Lou Holtz was like,
the one thing, how I knew that Lou Holtz was full of shit. I mean, I give him props for being a great football coach. That goes uncontested. Every single football team that Notre Dame was going to play against was always the most underrated team. Oh, we're going up against the most underrated team. They tried to balloon the opposing team up so that when they beat them, then it made Notre Dame look even better.
Oh, yeah.
Because nobody was going to dispute what the great Lou Holtz said. If he says the other team is extremely underrated, then that team is extremely underrated.
But see, I mean, he was definitely benefiting from the program because after a while he went over to South Carolina and didn't quite have the same mystique going.
No.
He wasn't able to raise the cocks to the same level as Notre Dame.
See, now I'm hearing the chant in my head. Game, Cox, game, Cox, game, Cox.
So,
that's what I was yelling during the UT game. Because I had to. Of course, my friends were dying because they're like, why? I'm like, because I can.
I'm allowed to. I'm talking about a bird.
That's right. I am, actually.
So, yeah, we can move. Hey, did you enjoy your Eggo brunch?
I did.
Okay.
I was really afraid. I was like, this cannot be good. This cannot be good. This is going to be a major fail. But, I served shots at first so that people would try it. And I did not buy the maple moonshine that you did.
Ah, okay.
So it was just the brunch. And they were like, can you make another pot of coffee so that we can put this in it? And I was like, sure. So they drank the shots, and then I made some more coffee. And so they did iced coffee with it, and so it was like half and half coffee and the Eggo brunch in a jar over ice. And they loved it. They thought it was great.
Yeah, it mixes well, too, with the rum coffee that I got. That's an interesting. I go like 2-to-1 on that one. Coffee rum, and then one part the Eggo brunch. And it's interesting because this one I've got, the rum coffee, has that particular coffee bitterness to it. And the Eggo brunch is rum based as it is, so that mixed well. And the bitter coffee and the sweetness from the waffle maple flavor kind of counteracted. I'll tell you what was a home run though. I made it with rum chata.
Ah, I had
And
a
then-
sneaky suspicion it would be really good with the rum chata.
And then I melted a little bit of butter, like a teaspoon of butter, added that into the shaker, and then just dusted a little cinnamon on the surface, French toast in a glass.
Ah, mm. Yeah, see, you're putting butter in a cocktail. I'm telling you, butter in cocktails and in coffee and in tea, it elevates everything.
Well, with this, I mean, this particular one, it mixes well. I mean, it's got a little bit of a butter flavor already to it in the cream, the Eggo brunch cream, but by doing this, I kind of augmented the butter flavor, obviously, with butter, and then the cinnamon from the rum chata, and then you just got French toast going right there. And it was like, oh, here we go. And yeah, worked out great. We did that here because we had breakfast party because the Bills were on at 9:30.
Of course.
They weren't thrilled. That was a tough one.
I was sorry. I really was. I know your wife is a big Bills fan, and yeah.
I don't understand what it is with them in Jacksonville.
I couldn't tell you. I don't
It
know.
makes no sense. And it was like what 2-3 seasons ago. She and I went up to Jacksonville to watch the Bills play there.
Was
And,
it? I know that you guys went up to Buffalo.
Yeah, I've done that too.
Yeah.
But no, this one was like, oh, they're in
But that
Jacksonville. We could do that trip.
Right.
Yeah, let's go. And we actually had a good time. People up there were cool. And we had some friends that went up as well. So we tailgated with them. We were doing Jello shots at like 8 a.m. Well, I was.
You were.
We get there and the wife's like, we're at this party. It's like 8:30, 9 o'clock. We're like, you're right. And then our friend Christine's like, hey, I got red and blue Jello shots. She's like, oh, not me. I was like, toss 4 over. Come on, let's get these games going. So yeah, we were hitting it up. But yeah, I mean, Jacksonville at the time, I think they had one win. They sucked. It was like Trevor Lawrence's first season. They had only drafted, and of course, you're struggling. Here come the
Right.
Bills marching into town like the badasses, and they couldn't even score a touchdown, and they lost 9-6. It was just staggering. I don't know what it is that this team has. So it was, but yeah, I mean, as far as Saturday and the Hurricanes, it was like, let's not know. But there's some other pride we got going on here in Florida. We just set the world's record for the biggest charcuterie board.
Yum.
It's official. And this isn't just empty bragging either. This has been certified by Guinness. Up here, right near me in
I
West
want
Palm
this
Beach,
job.
like about 45 minutes up, we had an official Guinness adjudicator on hand to verify that the Guinness World Record was reached by assembling a board containing 769 pounds of qualifying ingredients.
I didn't know that certain ingredients had to qualify in order to be on a charcuterie board, but okay.
Well, of course, Aggie, come on. You can't just throw any crap on there. It's got to
Well,
be
admittedly, you can't
charcuterie
put soup on
approved.
it.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea what's going on. I assume it's cheese and approved meats and some fruits and whatever. the
Nuts,
hell it is.
crackers, breads, cheeses.
No, crackers don't weigh anything. We're not going to get the record that way.
Oh, okay.
Heavy cheeses. Load the Gouda on there. More Gouda.
Gouda. You're Dutch. Pronounce it correctly.
Yeah, well, when I go to Dutch land, then I'll pronounce it that way. But
Dutch
if I go to
land?
Walmart,
Dutch land?
those people, they got like 17 names for the damn country and all that crap.
Yes, this is true. This is true.
You going to the Netherlands or are you going to Holland? Either. I'm Dutch. Wait, what? I'm confused. Get in line.
And the Low Countries, and then you can even divide it by their languages. Friesland, and go from there. And you're like, I just want to see the fucking tulips, man. That's all. That was my whole thing. I was like, this is all I'm here for.
Give me some of the Flemish cheese. Give me a pound of Edam and Gouda, whatever the hell you want to call it. Give me
Gouda.
Give me that wheel.
Anyway.
I thought she was on with Kathy Lee.
Whatever. I'm glad that your state finally had. Hey, getting this Guinness Book of Records entry in is a big deal.
Hey, come on.
For somebody.
We are the center of the world when it comes to charcuterie boards, apparently. Sure.
Okay.
This is a thing. It's I mean, sure, you call that a charcuterie board, but I mean, where I come from, got to be the size of, tennis court, and it's got to have qualified foods on it. So, yeah, I'm sorry, but I get to walk around and I can be smug about charcuterie board now anytime people crack one out.
Yes, you have something that you can be proud of.
We've got another record, though, however.
Yeah, this one is really good.
I think this can qualify as the research study as well, but I got to see if I can get this. I got to drop this pick in Trad if I can. It cracks me up. So, the University of Florida, home of the pansy-ass Gators. Yes, I'm like that. Screw them. They suck. The swamp. Oh, big. Yeah. Go get ranked and then come back and talk to me, you assholes. Anyway, I will say this: UF does have a good marine and biology department, stuff like that.
I would assume that most schools in Florida do.
Well, we got a few. UM is known, believe it or not, mainly for lawyering, but also, of course, hurricane research is big there. University of Central Florida is big with the space program.
Yes, they were the ones that had the grant to run the radio telescope in Puerto Rico prior to its. Okay. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, they're original. They're called the Golden Knights now, but originally the college mascot they were called the Citronauts.
That's actually adorable. I'm not gonna lie, that's adorable, and they should never have changed it. Kind of disappointed.
Yeah, but that was it was a nod to their affiliation with NASA and what have you. But Florida State is I want to say they're known for like
being dicks.
Drug rehab and stuff like that. I'm not sure about the teaching, but I know the student body is adept at that.
I'm so glad my cousins don't listen to this podcast. They're calling me like you would not
Who's
believe.
this asshole you're doing the show with? He sucks.
And why are you agreeing? Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, you know what? Shut up. Because you guys are all assholes.
Actually, believe it or not, FSU has a rather decent film program, like motion picture studies. I don't know how or why, but yeah, there it is. That's a thing, I guess. But UF, they're big on animal sciences and things of this nature. So they had a rather curious analysis, I guess you can say. I'm not really sure even how to classify this, but Florida being what it is, the dangling participle of the map that we are, our peninsula.
Yes, let's go with call it a dangling participle. Let's go with that.
I'm trying to be decent and, classy here. All right. Florida makes the United States mail. I said it.
Yes. Yes, you do.
It's because of us. We're a dude. So they're adept at studying things. But down here in Florida, we've got a lot of invasive species. I mean, pretty much you can introduce any damn animal here and it's going to thrive. Kind of a metaphor for our population as well, since everybody lives here seems to be from some other place. That's not bitterness coming through in my voice, I hope, even though it's there. It's I kid because I love, but it's like I got to say this, the people that have been coming in the last few years aren't as bad, but it used to be, man, they used to drive me batshit crazy. Man, this place isn't like New York. You can't get good bagels. You can't get good pizza. It's not like
I call
this.
total horseshit on not getting good bagels in Florida. I'm throwing the card right down. Considering that's God's waiting room and almost every single place has a deli, that's bullshit.
Well, it's they always say the same thing.
Yeah,
it's the
they always
water.
do because they don't
it's
bother
the
looking.
water. You need that New York water to make it good. Oh yes, the New York municipal water system is what we need.
Yeah, the one that breathes. Okay, yeah, okay.
Scintillating that. Well, it makes all the difference. Yeah. Oh, because your plain bread bagel tastes better with the water. Okay. I mean, I eat bagels. I've had them. I've done them. It's not like, but at the same time, it's not like, oh my God, this bagel is just to die for. It's like, no, you know what? I'm sticking carbohydrates in me. I got a busy day in front of me. That's, it's the same thing with coffee. I don't sit there and blue and exotic beans from Costa Rica with a slow drip French press. And then I have it crystallized with my water. It's like, make the freaking coffee. I need the caffeine. Give me the damn bread. I need food, that kind of thing. So they're bitching about the pizza and the bagels. And it's like, we have food from the entire planet in Florida. You can get anything anywhere. I'm pretty damn sure you can find a South African restaurant within a 10-mile radius of my house. It's just that kind of thing. Everybody here is from somewhere else, so you can get it.
Yeah.
And, that always aggravated the living hell of me growing up. It's like, oh, man, where I come from in New York, it's so much better. The people there, it's like, hey, you moved. Go back. What are you doing here? If the place sucks so hard, I don't want to hear it. Have some fish. Fish is grouse. No, thank you. There you go. All right. Way to broaden your horizons. Go have another slice of pizza. But I don't know what to tell you. So, yeah, the crowd's getting better here. But that's my point. It's like same thing with the wildlife. Anything that comes down here, just it's there. With the pythons in the Everglades, they're overrunning us. Outside my office window here, the trees are always crawling with like Cubany knolls and lizards from other places, including the curly-tail lizard, native of the Bahamas and Cuba. But these little sons of bitches are just prospering like crazy around here. I mean, it's kind of funny.
Well, it's the perfect climate, they have. So.
But we have a little bit of a cycle that goes on here too. They're relatively small. I mean, they measure like about 4 to 5 inches. I got to say, they're kind of stocky, and of course, they got a curly tail. Hence the name. Clever that. Must have been up all night coming up with that name. What's the Latin name of it? Tailus circuicona. What the hell? How did you come up with that? So. But what's funny is these things, all of a sudden, you'll see a bunch of them. Like every time you walk down the sidewalks or something, it's like, oh, geez, these things are all over the place. And then the egrets show up, and then you don't see them as much. So at least the local fauna. Fauna. Birds. Whatever. Mm-hmm. I had it right the first time.
Yeah,
don't correct me. Right. I had it right.
You were right. I was saying you were right. Jeez. Take a pill.
But they're and then the egrets show up and we're like, oh, okay, yeah, they got their tabs on them. They just sit there on top of the bushes, still as a statue or something, and boom, all of a sudden you'll see one slowly fly away, and it's like, okay, he got one, cool, he's good to go. So anyway, bring all this up because at the UF they were studying a curious creature of this species they found. It was a rather fat curly tail that they were interested in. They're like, what the hell's going on with this thing? He's got to be pregnant. And they're feeling it. And they're saying, well, it doesn't feel like eggs is the only problem. So they actually get this thing into a spectrum microscope.
Wow.
Apparently somebody at the herpetology department knew a guy. And said, okay, yeah, we'll stick him in there. We'll find out what's up. And they come to find out that the lizard was constipated.
Oh, Lord.
To it, and I just dropped a picture in chat. This is the part that cracks me up, though. They've actually determined, this is a new record for some lizard species or some such thing, but they've managed to determine that it was comprised of 80% fecal matter.
That poor thing. Did they give them X-Lax?
And they're saying like the other organs have been compromised. It can't eat anymore. And they were trying to figure out what's up. Now, this is the part I don't understand how they figured this out. But the claim is that somebody dropped a slice of pizza maybe or such, and the lizard was licking up the grease from the pizza, and in doing so consumed sand as well, of which it could not pass properly. And so it just loaded up on pizza grease and sand, I guess. And it couldn't extricate it. And now so now if you look at the lizard skeleton, it is, the entirety of it is based on crap. It's a crap lizard.
I'm assuming it passed away. Maybe?
After I saw the picture, pretty much my interest in this story did not go much further. I was like, because I caught myself, and I'm thinking now, it's like, oh my gosh, were they able to expel it? Was it able to pass this after all? Did they? It's like, why do I give a damn about a lizard that's full of shit? Why not? No, I'm spending already way too much time on this story. So there it is. In the past week, Florida has set 2 world records: the biggest charcuterie board and the largest crap ratio in a lizard.
That's incredible. Well, congratulations to the state of Florida.
Yes, it's been a proud week for us down here. We are we're just glowing in the in the magnificence of life. And if you eat the biggest charcuterie board, I'm going to say you're probably going to have the same impacted bodily functions as this lizard, then good luck.
Yeah, but we have Pepto, we have, X-Lax, we have stuff for this kind of stuff. The poor little lizard doesn't.
Poor little lizard doesn't belong here, does it?
Okay, this is true.
You move to Florida, you got to hang with the locals. I'm just saying, you're going to do it right.
All right, okay, fine, you win.
Okay, like they say, if you want to run with the big dogs, you got to learn to piss in the tall grass. I still have absolutely no idea what that means, but I love it.
I'm drawing a blank, but it's a cool saying. I give you props.
No, I grew up with people that used to tell me that. I was like, yeah, that's right. What in the hell are you talking about anyway? One of those phrases that make perfect sense until you start to analyze it. Big dogs, tall grass, you lost me. I'm sorry.
Well, Florida is not the only state that's kicking ass right now.
Really?
I mean, admittedly, Texas has not set any records except when it comes to illegal immigration and how many we catch each day. Aside that, our governor has called a special session. This is the 3rd special session that he has called. The prior 2 being very successful, but this one is a little different. There's several things on the calendar, and he expects to pass everything that's on that session, because he not only has the Republican support in the state legislature, he also has quite a bit of Democrat support in the state legislature. One of the things that he is planning on putting forth is mirroring the federal laws that are already in place when it comes to illegal immigration. So instead of just us trying to enforce federal law, we're going to make our state laws the same as the federal law so that we can enforce them. And if the federal government comes and says, no, you can't do that, all we have to say is we point to the federal laws and say, well, this is federal law. We can. So this is one way where we can actually start to stem the tide of illegal immigration. And it's a brilliant move because it completely checkmates the federal government. and the Biden administration. Even though the Biden administration has now come forward and said they're okay with doing barriers, not border walls, they're barriers. Border walls are racist, as we all know. This actually gives teeth to the federal law for us to actually implement it in our state. And I would look to immigration to actually start rising in the other 3 border states that don't have a similar type of set of laws in place. It's going to be really, really cool. But another thing that they're actually planning on passing is that no private employer or public employer will ever do COVID mandates again. That's going to be completely on the books, that it is illegal to actually mandate any kind of vaccination, public or private employer. So that's a really cool thing. But the one that I found very interesting has to do with a certain area in Liberty County. And it's called the Colony, I believe. Colony something or other. And this has been very alarming because the real estate that's being sold here is not being sold to American citizens. And it's basically, anybody else looking at this would just say one word, foothold. It's that bad. So now they are enacting laws in order to go after these particular things. And it will be retroactive. So there are people that are, the fact that that's even on the docket for the special session is really big because media is not covering this at all. And this is alarming. And this can happen almost anywhere. But the fact that it's gotten so big and nobody was seeing it here in Texas, that was huge.
Pretty jarring. But this is a cagey move. I remember, years ago they did this when, as far as using federal laws in this capacity, it was when they were going through one of those arguments about the Social Security lockbox was going to run dry. And so George Bush was proposing to give people the option to allocate like 10% of their Social Security into the marketplace.
Which, by the way, the government does.
Well, that's
and
what
people that work for the government do that.
He said, we're going to do this. You have the option. You don't have to do it. You're not forced to. And Democrats lost their ever-loving mind. This is the risk, and people's retirement are going to blow up. And they're like, well, pump the brake. One, what are you mad about? Why can't people control their own money that they supposedly have? Two, you're always touting how great the market's doing. Why is it bad for them? And three, they were basing this on the exact same plan that they have for Congress.
Yep. It is the exact same plan.
The retirement plan for congressional members has that option in it, but they were losing their ever-loving mind that the American public might have the same option they do.
Mm-hmm.
And
it was very eye-opening.
The anger made no sense to me. I remember when this it's like, okay, but even before they came up with that argument, it was like, well, why? If Social Security is going broke like you say, why not give them the option to get out of it or at least put some of their money in a safer? Oh, because people don't understand the marketplace and could lose everything. No, they can lose 10% at most. Plus, that's exactly
they don't
what
have
your
to
plan
put it
is.
in the market. They could just put it in a separate savings account. It doesn't have to be, playing stocks and bonds and whatnot.
Yeah, put it in a money market or just, put it in a market fund.
The fact that it could have let a lot of people opt out of Social Security meant that the slush fund would go away a lot faster. And Democrats could not deal with that.
It basically meant they wouldn't control your money.
Exactly.
Pissed them off.
Mm-hmm.
Which I found deeply revealing. But so, yeah, that's the whole thing. It's good for the feds, but not good for Texas. Bullshit. So, good move on Abbott's part. But I think the funniest of all is all of a sudden Joe Biden building a wall.
No, it's a barrier.
Well,
It's not a wall. It's a barrier. It's totally different.
but that's the thing is that the Democrats love themselves some euphemisms, don't they?
Yeah. They like satchels of Richards too.
Well, but I mean, it's like after what? How many years of well, it's unethical and racist, and Joe Biden was the first thing he did when he got in office. The
Let's
first
dismantle the wall.
the 3 or 4 days he was in office, he had, I think, what was the number? It was like 42 executive orders or something like that, and 1/4 of them were all border related and all about opening up the border, stopping detainees, stopping processing and such, stopping construction of the wall. I mean, anything that was impeding people from coming into the country. I think 12 or 13 executive orders he wrote taking those things down. And what's happened as a result, he's caging more people than Trump ever did. He's separating more families than Trump ever did. Now he wants to build Trump's wall that he stopped construction on. I mean, but my favorite part of this is the press losing their total grip on the narrative now, because they can't say building a wall is racist. Joe Biden's trying to do so.
That's totally different.
And I love, too, the explanation they're getting from the White House, where they're building the wall, but they don't want to be blamed for building the wall. So he's saying things like, oh, well, see, this money was already allocated and we can't do anything with it. My hands are tied. We have to spend it on the wall.
All government money is fungible. This is complete horseshit. We all know this. Otherwise, we wouldn't be funding Ukraine.
That whole argument gets blasted out of the water when you come to realize that the only reason they're constructing the wall today is because Joe Biden removed 26 federal laws and regulations that were preventing it.
Mm-hmm.
My hands are tied by this executive order that I just signed with the same hands.
No, I remember when he was sitting at the desk and he was signing all of these executive orders, and he turned to somebody, he's like, which one, how many is this? Which one is this? What am I signing? He had no idea. He was just signing willy-nilly. He just wanted to dismantle everything that had been done by the previous administration. It didn't matter what it was.
Well, it's also more evidence that he's not running the show.
Exactly.
So, he's like, I don't want this wall to be built. They're making me build it. Who is? My staff?
My wife?
Yeah, that's some special stuff going on. It's just absolutely damn ridiculous. But I guess we have to use this as a jumping off point for the big story of the weekend, of course.
Of course. The most tragic thing that's going on our planet right now.
I mean, Saturday was about as god-awful as you could possibly get. Talking about, of course, Israel, talking about Hamas coming in and acting like I like barbarians, Vikings, and
no, not even. I would rate them. No, I would rate them lower than that.
And Sherman marching through Atlanta, combine all three, and that was Hamas on Saturday. Holy shit, were these guys out of control? I mean, they were gunning down elderly people at bus stops. They were going house to house and just eliminating people. Just as barbaric as you could possibly get. We all saw the story, probably the videos, everything else. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that you don't want to see, but you have to. I'm really of that opinion. You need to. It
needs to be shown.
If you haven't even seen this stuff, and I'm not saying like dwell on the photographs or anything like that, but go on Twitter, go on Facebook. You can find people doing the reports on what they've discovered, and just go through that. And not, again, it's not the foreign aspect of it. It's like, oh, look at these dead bodies, look at all this blood, but it's so you can get a grip on just how horrific these people behaved. I think as of today, it's something like 1,100 confirmed deaths.
Yeah,
and it's
and the
still
toll
growing.
is higher. Yeah, the toll
It's
is
still
much
growing.
higher.
They came in and acted like absolute animals. Just there's no other way to describe it. I mean, they were killing children. They were kidnapping entire families. They were basically killing fathers and kidnapping the mother and kids and taking them with them to Gaza. I saw one video where they had 4 people bound, hands behind their back, marched them off, and then later they found images of all 4 of these people executed. They're just acting in completely barbaric fashion. And the reason I'm setting it up this way, as most know, I cover the media, so that's what I do. And to see the amount of people in the press taking a sympathetic or an understanding side of Hamas and Palestine after this absolutely enrages me. Well, we need to understand what motivated. No, you don't. Nothing motivated this.
No, they have a deep motivation, but the problem with the media is that they refuse to acknowledge the true motivation, which is the total annihilation of one race. They don't care about the land. If they cared about the land, when Israel gave them Gaza, they would have taken care of it. They gave them greenhouses. They gave them everything they needed to be prosperous. They didn't do anything with it. They destroyed everything. So you cannot tell me that this is about the land. This is just about the eradication of a group of people. That is their sole purpose. Yeah. And it makes them dangerous because they don't fear death. They truly believe that death is the beginning of their true life, the good life. What we have on this planet is not good for them. Death is what welcomes the good for them. So they have absolutely no fear about dying. They have no fear. And that's what makes them so dangerous. And this is why they must be eradicated. I don't know if people are familiar with the Thuggee cult that existed in India during British occupation. They were just as bad, if not worse. And they had an extensive network that extended all the way to almost Bhutan and all the way down to all of India, and as far east as parts of China. It was extremely extensive, and they were extremely bloodthirsty. They had no fear of death. And as a matter of fact, they referenced that cult in Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom. But that movie didn't even come close to explaining how bad this cult was. And the British Empire pretty much came to a decision right then and there. It's like they have to be eradicated. They cannot be reformed. They cannot live among the rest of the people in India. They're targeting people just because they can. So it wasn't that they were targeting the British and that they were stealing stuff. No, it was that they wanted the complete annihilation of everyone that lived there. That was their goal. It is the same thing with the Palestinian people, so-called.
But here's the thing when it comes to the Palestinians, is that they're claiming hardship, and they're claiming Israel's responsible for the hardship. And yeah. Will just mentioned something in chat that I was going to mention because I saw Katie Pavlich talk about it today. She's like, just one example was they needed to improve their sewer system. So Israel sent in the hardcore materials, the pipes and everything for them to develop a pipe system for their sewage.
Mm-hmm.
They converted them into rocket launchers.
Yeah.
This is the thing. All the aid they get, the money they get for their people, they spend on what? Weaponry. Armaments, and training their people to go kill. They don't take care of their people.
Because the people don't think that being taken care of is a priority. No. They really do view martyrdom as the be-all and end-all.
And one of the things that cracked me up was when this attack took place on Saturday, one of the first steps Israel took was to cut off the power, the water, and other utilities that go into Gaza. You can't do that. That's genocide. That's depriving the people of necessities. It's like, right, which Israel was providing them, not charging them for it.
Nobody
They
stopped to ask.
provided that utilities to Gaza.
Yeah, nobody's asking. So, why doesn't Gaza have their own utilities?
Why don't they
Nobody
have their own
asked that
power
question.
or water? Because they use that money on weapons and not their people. And, but you don't understand. The people are in jail. Somebody called it, who was it? ABC News, I think, today?
Mm-hmm.
Called it, they're living in an open air jail in Gaza because of Hamas. It's like, okay, they elected Hamas to be their leadership.
Yeah, and somebody said, "Oh, like we elected Biden." I'm like, no. You don't understand. Yes, there are questions about our election. There were absolutely no questions about that one. None. Yeah. There were absolutely no questions. This is what they wanted. And the only reason they got Hamas is that Hezbollah was too far away. That was it. That was really the reasoning. Hamas was right there. So they voted them in. Now they're considered a legitimate political group that targets everybody that's housing Hamas in the Middle East. And that's why you see them being a little bit quiet and a little bit more withdrawn. They're not picking a side just yet.
Yeah, well, the thing is, because of this, because of the scope of this attack by Hamas, when Israel declares war on them, Hamas isn't limited to Palestine.
Nope.
They operate in other countries. They're fair game now. They're part of it. And Netanyahu, man, his speech, holy crap. Like, I mean, it wasn't, okay, we're going to war. It was, let me tell you something. You're going to see our retaliation that's going to reverberate for decades. I mean, he is like, already, I've seen shots today. Somebody put a video up and they said this was considered the Beverly Hills of Palestine. This is where all the Hamas leadership was entrenched, their penthouses, their offices, everything else. The entire place looked like a rock quarry. Just smoldering piles of rubble. And Israel is only just starting. I mean, they are going after
a lot.
The international community, the people, this is a retaliation that's way out of balance. Curious word you just used there. Retaliation of what? That's the thing, is they all want to complain about what Israel's doing. Oh, but the provocation wasn't this big. What? I'm sorry, provocation? What? So something precipitated this, is what you're saying? I'm curious.
And it goes back to the leadership in Israel has always been hamstrung by global leaders. Always. They've always had to tread very lightly because they didn't want to lose, their allies, particularly the U.S. as an ally, because we are their biggest ally over there. Every time some vote comes up to censure Israel over in the UN, there's only 4 people that vote with Israel, and the U.S. is one of them. Weirdly, Mariana Islands always votes for Israel as well, but whatever. But there's usually just 4 people, 4 countries that actually vote with Israel. The U.S. is always one of them. And it doesn't matter about the administration. It always happens because they are our biggest ally there. And we need Israel to be our biggest ally in that region. So it's a mutual thing, but depending on the D or the R, it's a better mutuality to Israel in certain years than it is in others.
Well, I got to say, I was actually shocked, and I mean this legitimately. I was shocked today by Joe Biden's speech.
I was not. And here's why. How long did it take him to deliver that speech?
Well, sure, but...
No, wait. How long did it take it? Days, right?
3 days, yeah.
On top of which, how many people wrote it? Because it wasn't him.
Oh, no.
And it wasn't one guy.
We definitely know this.
But they had to sneak in. They had to sneak in Bo in there.
No,
Did
but
you notice that?
But what it is that I'm figuring it's taking him this long to, come out with the firm speech about it. I thought they were just doing everything they could to equivocate. We need to be, take pace. We need to take our time on this. We need to understand what motive. No, they didn't do that. And that's what shocked me. When he came out and said, no bones about it, we're allies with Israel, and this was terrorism and such. That's the part that cracked me up, because for 3 days, the press has been doing everything they possibly can to legitimize what happened. And we have to look sympathetically at the Palestinians, and we have to look at, the decades that have led to this. No, we don't. Not after what these fucksticks did. Okay, did you see the story of the girl that said her grandmother was kidnapped, killed?
Mm-hmm.
They got a hold of her cell phone, and they posted photos of her dead body on her Facebook account for her family to see. Okay, that's the kind of
exactly
monsters. And it was hundreds and hundreds of these guys stormed in. They had CNN, Fareed Zakaria. That guy should just quit being on the air ever again. He had on some mouthpiece from Hamas and no, we understand. All we did on Saturday was go after military targets, military personnel. And Fareed just sat there and nodded his head. He's like, oh, I understand. Okay. It's like they killed 260 minimum people at a music festival.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing to do with the military. There wasn't the only soldiers there were on security. They were butchering people in their cars. There's a drone shot that goes down a road for about a quarter mile. You just see cars randomly off the side of the road. That's because they were picking them off while they were driving out.
Yep. They
had bomb shelters on site because that's what Israel is. They have those everywhere. And the people all took refuge inside them, and Hamas went in and just slaughtered the people that were barricaded inside those shelters. To their credit, I got to give CNN credit, though. Jake Tapper was talking to, what's his name, Nick, somebody, one of their foreign correspondents over there that was at the festival site. And he was struggling to describe what he saw. And just, it's like, I went into these shelters and it's just the smell of death slams into you and you see blood all the way up to the ceiling. And he was mortified. He's like, Jake, I gotta move on to other topics and stuff. And Tapper stopped him cold and it's like, no, you have to keep going about this. You have to tell people what happened there. And, I'd give Jake Tapper shit all the time, but I pat the guy in the back for this. He let him go for 5 minutes to describe the carnage at that concert site. And that's the thing is the press is in complete conflict right now because they're trying to say, oh, Hamas didn't, they're these poor oppressed people. And yet I wrote about it this morning. I've got live shots from Fox News, from CNN, from NBC of reporters in the field that had to duck and cover because they were coming under fire while they were doing their live spots.
Mm-hmm.
All of them were inside of Israel, not Palestine.
Yep, they were not in Palestine. They were not in Gaza, I should say.
So while most of their networks are saying, "Oh, those poor Palestinians," but they're in Israel being attacked by the Palestinians.
The only people that are oppressing the Palestinians are Hamas and Palestinians themselves. They have to be oppressed. They work at being oppressed because that's their biggest weapon against Israel.
Oh no!
In the court of public opinion,
I won't even hesitate. I'm going to say it. They are a grievance culture. They need anger. That's what they subsist on. I mean, we talked about it before. They've had negotiations with, and I'm doing it again. I've got Sadat.
The very first time they tried negotiations with Arafat, they gave them 97% of what Arafat was asking, and Arafat walked away and started the Intifada.
Yeah, they pretty much gave him the farm. He didn't get the weather vane on top of the barn, so he's like, "That's it. I'm burning the place down." That's literally the approach
pretty much
they
what he
took
did
to this. And when it comes to negotiations, you just turn everything over to them, but like a little, well, we still need this road in order to get home. No, that's ours too, or nothing. It's like, but we need that. Well, that's it. You're all going to die. I mean, that's literally the approach of these people. So they're not interested in whatever's at the negotiation table. They want to eradicate the Jews. That's their
that's
goal.
it. That's all. That's it. That's the goal. That's what they want. But here's the thing, and this is what a lot of people don't think about, because this divides people like no other issue besides our own politics does. A lot of people don't give thought to what happens when Palestinians are done, when they're done eradicating that which they consider vermin.
Oh, yeah, I've had that in mind, too.
No one thinks about what happens next, mind you. They don't. And here's the thing. This is the ugly, ugly reality. They're going to come for the next one. Mm-hmm. Because it's not about just eradicating Jews. It's about eradicating the first group. That's what this is about.
Well, the thing is,
always been thus.
If they get rid of the Jews, then who are they going to blame for their oppression, for their condition? Because then they don't have the Jewish state to give them the utilities and all the other humanitarian aid they usually get from them.
And here's the thing. They would expect the Arab nations to step up. But here's the thing. The Arab nations kicked them out. Israel was the only nation that would take them in. Most of the Palestinian area is actually in the Kingdom of Jordan. And Jordan was fine with the Palestinians living there until the Palestinians rose up and tried to kill their king. And Jordan said, you know what? Fuck that. You're gone, and kicked them out. Saudi Arabia wouldn't take them because they're too volatile. Yemen wouldn't take them because they're way too volatile for them. They have to deal with their own shit. United Arab Emirates and Dubai are too ritzy, as is Kuwait. So nobody would take them in. Syria, they have their own shit. They don't need, these pretenders to the throne. They didn't want them there either. Lebanon, same thing. Israel was the only country that would take these people. People that were technically nomadic. They never had a nation state of their own. And even when they gave them a place to call their own nation state, where they could found their own nation state, they turned it into a hellhole and blamed Israel for it. And the thing is, nobody's thinking about what comes after if the Jews are eradicated. They're going to come for somebody else next. That's why I brought up the Thuggee cult. The Thuggee cult, they were planning on eradicating all of India. And guess what? They were coming after the Chinese next. And the British, because they decided to expand their empire and take over India, that put a little kink in their plan. So they had to go after the British, and the British said, fuck that. You guys are gone. And they went through a complete scorched earth and eradicated every single Thuggee person on the planet. They knew what they were up against. And it's amazing to me that the world does not see what Israel is up against, much less the rest of the world, because this doesn't stop with Israel.
No, that's the thing. And if you turned Israel over to the Palestinians, what are they going to do with it? The place will turn into whatever crap hole they've turned the Gaza Strip into. And then what? That's the thing. That's so much of the resentment of Israel is that they've been given this sliver. I mean, if you look on a map, pull it up on social media, you can do a search. Everybody's been putting them up lately. Of the Muslim world, it comprises the top half of Africa and so much of Western Asia. Just a massive amount of land. And there's this little sliver in the middle of it all that is Israel. And with the exception of the oil-rich countries, the most prosperous is Israel. And they've built up their entire economy and social structure and their contemporary modern society without the benefit of oil. Make sense of that. Okay? That's how it does. Up front, they are with bettering themselves. They're not subsisting on the other countries around them. In fact, they're helping other countries. And they're resented for it. That's the thing that makes no sense.
It is
Look at Libya,
very,
look at Lebanon, look at all these other countries that have oil reserves and are backwards third world countries for the most part. With the exception of their leadership, the rest of the citizenry is not benefiting.
no.
And Israel doesn't have that. And look what they are. They're a contemporary society.
They managed to make a desert into an oasis. And their success hinges on not just their own spiritual beliefs, but the fact that God has provided for them and they need to make that gift flourish. They really do see things like that. And it's not just limited to Judaism. A lot of religions see things in the same manner. Islam does not see it in that manner at all. That's never been a thing about Islam. But
all the Muslim countries seem to be intent on pointing fingers at somebody else for their problems.
Well,
you did this to
Muslims,
me. It's your fault that we're like this. We can't do it because of them. And
well,
Israel's like,
notice,
let us be, and we're going to do our own thing. And they're doing their own thing, and people hate them for it.
You'll notice that the Arabs never offer to give aid to the Palestinians by, hey, come live here, blah, 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 because they know that, no, they can't deal with the Palestinians. But on top of that, they want the Palestinians where they are because they don't want Israel there either. So they want the Palestinians to do the dirty work. That's true. You'll notice that Ethiopia has never been approached about housing the Palestinians. Ethiopia was a Christian nation before Christianity moved to Europe. Okay. There are rumors that the Ark of the Covenant is in Ethiopia. I mean, that's how Christian this place is. So that was one thing, somebody actually, this was back in I want to say 88. I think I was still in college. Somebody actually approached the possibility of Palestinians actually living in Ethiopia because Ethiopia had plenty of land, and all that stuff. And they said no. They don't want Ethiopia. They don't want anything to do with Ethiopia. And I'm like, but they have, admittedly they were coming out of a famine at the time and everything, but they had more resources than what they were eking out in their existence fighting with Israel. It's not about land. It has never been about having a nation state. It has never been about having land. And this is what it's so difficult to actually put across to people who really believe that the Palestinians are fighting for land, for a homeland. They had their chance at a homeland. The homeland was all set up and everything was running. The trains were coming in on time. But they didn't want that. And look what happened to their homeland that was given to them by Israel. They turned it into a hellhole. It's not about land. Never has been.
No, it's not. We know this. But the thing is, Israel's not hostile towards any. They want to be left alone. Like, I don't understand the level of hatred Iran has for Israel. They don't share a border. They're separated. And the just absolute pledged eradication of the Jews is on their mind constantly. Why? It's like they act like the Jews are constantly firing rockets at them or something like that. They would rather just, dudes, go do your thing. We don't care. Just leave us to be. No, they can't. You have to be wiped off the planet. How is your existence impacted in any way with the Jewish state existing? That's a fraction of the size of your country. That's the part I don't get. And just the level of hatred. And just look at what Israel does for itself. They have the Iron Dome. Their military capability is one of the best in the world. They are armed, and it's all from a defensive standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
And yet their people are not suffering as a result. Their people are prospering. Their people are doing good.
This is something that a lot of people don't know. the Multinational Force and Observers, which is a peacekeeping mission out in the Sinai. When you come to the border between Egypt and Israel, there are guns. The ones in Israel are pointed to Egypt. The ones in Egypt are pointed to Egypt. Nobody's pointing guns at Israel because they know Israel's not the problem. Okay? This is what I try to tell everybody. Israel is not the problem here. When Egypt points its guns at its own people because they know that's where the problem is, and nobody else is paying attention. Nobody else is like catching on.
Well, I love too that Israel gets in trouble for the Iron Dome.
Yeah.
Like the UN and other countries, it's not fair that they have this Iron Dome. It's like, can you describe what it does? It protects their people from being shot by other countries. Yeah, but if we send 100 rockets in, they intercept 95 of them. That's not right. That's literally the argument being made. And I see that rear rep every now and then. It's like, oh, sure, it's easy for Israel. They've got their own shield. You realize that's a defensive weapon, right? Okay. You know what a shield does? It stops stuff. It doesn't attack. It's just amazing to me. But I just love the fact that Netanyahu's been putting out videos of various buildings in Gaza disappearing. He's putting drone video on his Twitter account. And you just look at a building and it's not like there's a puff of smoke and then the building sort of collapses. No, the building disappears.
It's gone. Yes.
It's just like, boom. And there's a city block of dust and there's nothing left. They're not fucking around. And
I think, because he had been hindered for so long, and not just him, but prior administrations too, Netanyahu he's at the end of his, what's the word I'm looking for? I know it in Spanish. Patience. His patience is gone. He's
I'll tell you what I think happened. What was one of the bigger questions over the weekend was, man, how did this happen? How did the intelligence failure take place with Israel and the U.S.? And I think that's what it is. It's like there's been so much pressure and leverage applied to them. It's like, you can't do this. You can't infiltrate. You can't get this intelligence. And I think they were pulling back out of appeasement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they just...
And I think he's looking at this
the court
and saying,
of public opinion hits Israel harder than anybody else.
And I think Netanyahu just said, I just lost 1,100 of my people in the most brutal fashion possible. Screw all y'all.
Yeah.
I tried to appease you people, and look what it's costing us. Suck it. He just spoke at the UN, a couple weeks ago?
Mm-hmm.
Joe Biden wouldn't even give him a private audience.
Oh, I'm well aware.
He's coming over here to speak at the United Nations in the United States, and Joe Biden never had the only time they talked was like at a general sit down at the UN. It wasn't a one-on-one in the White House between the two of them. And I think now Biden's looking at this and saying, yeah. One of his chief international advisors a week ago said, well, there's been more peace in the Middle East than we have ever seen because we're so magnificent. It's like, well, no, because Donald Trump worked out about 7 different peace deals in the Middle East that nobody's ever seen before. And you're coasting on that. Oh, look at this. It's melting down in a weekend.
Yeah.
Dipshits.
And like him or not, the thing was, everybody knew that Donald Trump was unstable. They could not predict what he was going to do. So they didn't want to fuck around with him. And I was perfectly happy with that.
This is the other thing with Trump. I'm by no means a lover of the guy, but in the Middle East,
he got shit done.
He shut ISIS down. We didn't hear about it because the press hates that.
Oh, no, my favorite part was when the embassy was established in Jerusalem. the media went batshit insane over this. And I'm like, how is this a bad thing? How is this a bad thing? And they could not say why this was a bad thing, because then they would expose themselves.
Well, because this is a provocation to the hostile nations. It's like, yeah, but except he's brokering deals. Like, he's got Jordan and Saudi Arabia now shaking hands. He's got this, he's got that. No one's ever seen that before. Now Joe Biden comes in and is like backing off. I'm going to give Iran $6 billion. And now they're saying all of these nations that brokered those deals, the pissed off Muslim countries are saying, you're all in the crosshairs now. We're going after you guys. You guys that brokered those deals under Trump, you're on the list. It's like, wait a second. So it was bad for Trump to broker peace. It's good for Biden to rip all of that up and to give the most sympathetic terrorist state, Iran, $6 billion.
Yeah, that would. Oh, and they will come at you going, "Oh, we did not give them $6 billion. We just, allowed, the money was in Korea and it was Iranian money anyway, so this was a peace deal." I'm like,
let me explain this
fungible
argument.
Money?
Let me explain this to the people in ways that they'll understand. We gave them $6 billion for humanitarian aid, not for weapons. It's like, okay.
You're right. So they took the humanitarian aid and used it for weapons.
Do you know that whole student loan forgiveness program? Do you know how many people said, yes, we need this so I can go on vacation?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Joe Biden didn't give them money to go on vacation, but he gave them money to pay off their student loan debt, which means the money they were paying their student loan debt, they can apply to a vacation. Same thing with Iran, you dipshits. If they don't have to pay money for their own humanitarian aid because someone else's, guess what? They've got more money to fund Hamas. This is one of my favorites over the weekend. There's no proof whatsoever that Iran was involved, said one guy. And he cited a Middle East expert. And the Middle East expert said, yes, Iran wasn't involved in this. And he goes in a lengthy explanation that said Iran was working with Hamas, trained Hamas, helped Hamas with weapons. Oh, and Hezbollah is now attacking Israel in the northern border. But there's no proof whatsoever that Iran is involved in any way.
None.
The same guy, he had like a 4-paragraph entry on Twitter that said all of that. Iran did this, worked with them on that, gave them this, handed them this, and are now doing this. And you can't say that they're involved. I don't. You did, you dipshit. I mean, this is the kind of – this is why I'm loving the press right now, because everything they've spent 3 days doing, sympathy for Hamas, we got to understand where they're coming from. They were motivated to do this. They couldn't help themselves. And then Joe Biden's like, nope, we're on Israel's side, and this was terrorism, and they need to shit hammer him. We're behind Israel 100%. And the press is now like,
great.
We just can we who was it I had yesterday? Forbes.
You had Forbes that deleted that tweet.
Yeah. This is how
glorious.
Israel is sending rocket attacks unprompted, they said. The rocket attempts were unprompted. And then they actually said in the same tweet, after Hamas kidnapped Israelis. I'm sorry, hang on. Not only have we seen all the carnage and barbarism executed for the last 3 days, in your tweet you just said they've kidnapped people. That's a prompt, you dipshits. So yeah, that's why I think there's a competition between the State Department and the media. Who's going to delete more impacted, idiotic tweets? Like there was some guy from Washington Post today.
It's a race to the bottom.
They were trying to deny the news reports about babies being decapitated in that that one neighborhood and they have the woman walking through the neighborhood. She's like, I just talked to the commander that said so far they've counted 40 infants. Many of them have been decapitated. Oh, you can't trust them. That's just Israel lies about that stuff. And then all of a sudden it started to be confirmed by actual media members that were there, like members of France and stuff. Are like, yeah, we saw that and it was freaking brutal. And then we got the guy on CNN that was at the concert and talking about the hundreds of bodies they're carting out of there. And yeah, you're going to really try to deny this, are you? Okay. You guys keep it up. And then Joe Biden comes out. I was like, nope, we're totally behind Israel because this stuff's unacceptable. It's like, damn it.
There's been, had they just stuck to like launching rockets into Israel, I think if the media could have gotten away with glossing over this. But this attack was so horrific in its nature that there's nobody can actually make this look good for the Palestinians. This is why they're taking to the streets here in America, here in the U.S., because it's necessary for Palestinians to show solidarity here to make sure that people still like them and people still support them. They're saying, we were tired of being downtrodden and all this stuff and whatever. The media doesn't tell you what's going on in Israel unless, something bad happens to the Palestinians. They never tell you about what the bad things that happen to Israel. So that's why there's a lot of...
I can undermine all of this narrative real easy. Because what's the one thing we're seeing pushed right now? Oh, we want an end to the violence. We want a ceasefire. We want peace talks. We just want to have an end to all of this. Okay, you know what? If that's what Hamas wants, that would be step one. Not killing 1,100 people, civilian. You start with the peace talks. You don't kill 1,000 people first and then say we really care and we're interested in talking now. No, you're not. And I'll close it out this way: is that the leader of Iran, whatever the Ayatollah jackass's name is today, came out. Was like, this is energizing the Palestinian people, and they're going to be more forthright going forward and energized in life. Guess what? Guess what, their captain? That life you're saying they're energized with has an expiration date probably of this week. You're good. Yeah, I hope they're full of life. Because the schedule won't be full. I'll just tell you that much. So they're just going to get, I mean, Netanyahu just looks at this now and says, you know what? We've done it your way. The hell with that. And they're going to go in and mow the place down. And they've told people, get the hell out of Gaza because we're going to mow it down. They can't leave Gaza. They're stuck. They're from.
I'm sorry.
They got cars.
Really.
They got buses. They can move. They can go somewhere else. But the people they elected to go kill Jews are going to be eliminated. And if they're next door, likely they're eliminated too. So, yeah, get ready. Your primary export for the next few years is going to be rubble. Just saying.
I'm okay with that.
Me too. All right, let's move on to some happier stuff just to close things out here. Okay. Don't get me wrong. I can talk about this all because I'm like, now it's like full throttle, mow the place down, level it, and start from scratch. But did you happen to experience the emergency alert network last week?
I did. Yes and no.
It was just kind of funny. It was like, I knew it was coming, but I didn't really pay much attention to it. It was like, yeah, okay, my phone's going to go off. Guess what, guys? I'm not going to panic when it happens. How about that?
We knew it was coming. It was not a secret.
I just loved all the news people. No, get ready today. Your phone's going to go off, so don't freak out because it's like what people are going to take to the streets. Oh my God. But the funny thing is, it's like I did a radio interview last week, and they called me up and they're like, "All right, Brad, yeah, we're going to go on, we're going to do news hit and weather, and then we come back, and then Tom's going to introduce." And then during the commercial break, It's like, oh crap, this is happening now, isn't it? But thankfully, it was like only a couple seconds. But I was like, ooh, yeah, that would have interrupted the interview. Good thing it was on commercial. Cool. Perfect timing, Biden, I guess. But I bring it up for this reason. There were some deleterious effects, let's say, as a result of it. There's an individual who I think he's got an account. He's a former adherent of a particular faith. He says, setting this up in veiled fashion, who reported on something that happened unfortunate for a few members of his former faith. Turns out when the emergency blast went out and all the phones started chirping in unison across the country, there were some Amish individuals who were forbidden from having cell phones whose cell phones went off. Oops. and as a result, they've had to bear some rather harsh punishment for this. Amish men were shunned following the emergency alert test that outed them for having the cell phones they were forbidden to have.
Yeah, that was. I feel kind of bad, but like we discussed, there are sometimes there are issues where it is necessary for somebody in the community to use technology. And I explained to you that there was a case whereby, there was a TV show called Amish Renegades, and they needed to use a laptop for their designs and all that stuff, whatever. But it's at the discretion of the bishop. That's what a lot of people don't know, is that the bishop is the one with his council. They decide whether or not it needs to be done. A phone is not one of them, simply because several of these communities still have a cell phone, a payphone that they have access to. And the money that's used for those in order to call out in those payphones goes back to the community, which is why some communities do have payphones, in the center square or by the school or, wherever they may need the phone the most. But which is why a cell phone would never be, nobody would even ask to carry a cell phone. There is absolutely no reason why an Amish person would carry a cell phone. They have the capability to contact the outside world, so the cell phone's not necessary. So when you told me about
what you're saying is that there's not a whittling phone app English?
No. Yeah, so when you told me about this, I was like, ooh, they were cheating.
Yeah, I kind of feel bad that Ordy's not here for this one. They just have to skip out to another show.
Yeah, Ordy's one of the bad Amish, using a cell phone and stuff. But
what cracks me up is that this is an ex-Amish individual who's got a TikTok account, and he revealed that his, I guess these are friends of his, people he knows, but 3 of his Amish buddies were shunned after the national smartphone emergency alert went off. And it exposed them for being in possession of cell phones they were not permitted to have.
Yeah, like I said, sometimes technology is needed, and it is up to the discretion of the bishop. And most times, the technology is used for a specific purpose, and then it's given up. It's disposed of. So it doesn't stick around. It's not a permanent thing. But yeah, a cell phone would never be one, simply because there are ways to contact outside of the community. And if the community does not have a cell phone, people that live outside of the community that do have, a payphone, that do have landlines or cell phones, they will, trade that favor for, free honey or free, milk or eggs or something that the Amish will trade in exchange for using a phone in case of an emergency. So, that's why, when you told me about this, I'm like, yeah, there's no reason for any Amish to have a cell phone. Sorry. All that shit is covered.
Yeah. But we probably should maybe close out with a little bit of art news. Sort of.
Well, I have a piece that actually kind of relates to this art news, so go ahead too.
It was like every so often we hear about semi trucks that get involved in a highway accident and they spill their contents all over the roadway, be it beer or, could be pickles, could be, any kind of curiosity. That's kind of a funny one. What this happened in Russia. Semi was toting some cargo.
Okay.
Had a bit of a highway incident, and
we bit away.
Well, there were people in the area that saw this, and the contents of the truck spilled across the highway. A lot of white objects, square, rectangular in nature, probably like 6 inches by 4 inches, something like that. Wonder what that is. So people got out of their cars and started filming it. And these are porcelain pieces that are strewn across the roadway and in the back of the truck. And wow, okay, that's interesting. What the hell is that? A few hundred ceramic casts of vaginas were all over the road.
I cannot.
Dare I say they were spread out across the highway. And
I just cannot.
The driver had to, of course, pick up the little man in the cab. Can I call him that?
Oh, God. I cannot believe you said that.
See what I did there?
Yes, I do. Lord, I'm turning red. I cannot believe that.
I mean, of course, the driver was embarrassed because he spilled his load all over the highway.
Oh, stop! Oh, my word.
What? I'm reporting on this. The thing is, all of these casts of female genitalia were apparently earmarked for an art installation of some sort. But
yeah, let's go with that.
Believed to have been in like that, allegedly believed to have been en route to an art gallery.
Okay. Just like what? Oh my goodness.
So yeah, that happened. Vaginas all over the street. Wow.
Well, it couldn't have happened on a more appropriate week, though.
Oh, I thought you were going to say city, because I would have said this would have been perfect in Amsterdam.
Yeah, this is true too. But no, the reason I think it's perfect is due to a new movement that Riley Gaines is starting.
This is brilliant.
It is. It's completely brilliant. As some of the people in the chat know, women have been in a process of being erased by all of this woke shit with transgender women being women and all that stuff. We have National Women's Day, International Women's Day, and they were co-opted by the transgender community. And so Riley Gaines came up with a brilliant plan for a new day to recognize women who were born women. And it's called Real Women's Day. And she chose October 10th as the date for it. And this is the reason. October being the 10th month and picking the 10th day, the Roman numerals for 10, the Roman numeral for 10 is X. So this would be XX, which is the female chromosome. So
Pretty good.
This was brilliant. And for one, I'm like, I'm going to be pushing this like you would not believe, because I'm sick of this erasure that has been going on against women. And as you know, the most liberal women have been very quiet about it, especially the third wave feminists that have said that trans women are women. And we keep telling them, no, they're trans women, and, this whole gender thing is just so stupid. It really is. That's fine. You want to do that to yourself? Go ahead. If it makes you happy, if it actually improves your quality of being, go for it. That's fine. But don't think that I'm going to be sold on your little fantasy to keep you happy. You sell your fantasy to yourself to keep you happy, but don't ask me to be in it, because that's not going to happen. I have my youngest daughter identifies as they, them. I call her she all the time. I refer to her as she, and she understands that I am not going to be, selling, her little fantasy. And I told her why. I was very, very, very vocal, very plain. I was like, it took me a long time to learn English, and by God, I'm going to use it correctly. I'm not calling you they. I'm not going to refer to you as they. There's not a lot of you. You may have multiple personalities, but it's still one body. So it's not happening. And she, was gracious enough to accept what I said and has left it alone. But there are so many people that come after others for not capitulating to their fantasy. And I'm like, if you need me to validate you, the problem lies with you, not me. And that is the thing that these people need to understand.
Well, here's the other thing.
So
it comes to their celebrations, their holidays, or what have you. If you don't properly acknowledge it, you're hateful, you're a transphobe, whatever the holiday is. Yet she does this in order to just celebrate biological women, and they're the ones flipping out on her in the same fashion that they complain about. Wait a second. It's wrong if they do it to your holiday, but you could do it to hers.
Yeah.
How does that work?
We're not allowed to have our own holidays anymore. Just as you were talking about how many holidays are for pride and for gay, and for the gay agenda, they're taking away the holidays that were for women. It really has become where they really believe a man can be a better woman than a woman can.
That's the whole contradiction, though. It's like you have to honor them, but they don't have to honor others in the same fashion.
Because they need that validation, because they know deep in their hearts that there's something wrong. So, anyway.
No, it's not even that so much as it is they're no longer special, separate, segregated. They seem to think that if they have their holiday and their flag and their titles and celebrations and such, they're elevated. But if other people do the same, somehow they're lowered, which is the part I don't understand.
That's correct.
How do you have supposed pride if you have to deny others of doing something in order to feel better? That's where they lose traction, let's just say. But no, I think this is kind of brilliant. And if it's okay to celebrate trans individuals, why is it wrong to celebrate women?
Non-trans. Hell, I'm all for, International Men's Day. I want National Men's Day. I want to celebrate that too. And before anybody says, I'm well aware there's a steak and BJ Day. That's not what I'm talking about. I am talking about being grateful for the men in our lives, and not just
But why aren't we talking about? But why aren't we talking about Steak and BJ Day? I really want to talk about Steak and BJ Day.
You guys can talk about yourself. Put it on your own. Leave me out of it. But I mean,
I didn't know
like,
you oppose steak so much. I'm learning so much about you.
I do not oppose steak.
Sure sounds like it. You were
No,
like,
I don't. You sound like the kid that you remember Monsters University. It's like, you need to take that down. It's like, oh, you don't like charity? This guy doesn't like charity. Like, that wasn't the point. This is you.
So wait, you're opposed to the other thing then, I guess?
No! I just don't want to talk about it live.
she just wants to deny us our holiday, Rick.
No, I'm just saying that you need more than one holiday. Men need more than one holiday.
Well, yeah,
That's
we have
all I'm
one
saying.
called the Super Bowl.
No, women are co-opting that shit too.
I know Taylor Swift is getting in on the action. That bitch.
Oh my God! Pretty soon she's gonna be the freaking commissioner. You just wait.
Taylor Swift is only hanging out with that dude to keep people from Googling her private jet shit. Come on now.
No, that's true. More than likely. Anyway, well, we have
now
gone
when you type
well
Taylor Swift
over.
and jets, that's what you get instead of her using a private jet. I'm just saying. Try it. It works. Trust me. All right.
Well, we have gone well over our allotted time, so I guess we should wrap it up.
Indeed, it would make sense.
All right.
Wrap it up like it's steak and BJ Day.
Just. I should never have said anything. Brad, where can we find you?
Well, I'm available on a daily basis over at townhall.com with my daily media column there, riffed from the headlines. I'm also on the front page of Red State on a regular basis, where I also have my twice weekly podcast, Liable Sources, diving even deeper into the mayhem of the media complex. And I've got more shows on this very network. Thursday night, I'm going to be here with Paul Young from ScreenRant.com, going through the dark side of Hollywood and bad movies with disasters in the making. Alternate Thursdays with Ordy Packard as we guide you through all the important entertainment information on the culture shift. And, of course, every Tuesday at 8:30 with the ever-effervescent Aggie Regan on this show, The Cocktail Lounge. And if you need more of me than that, and let's face it, you do, if you head over to Twitter, Jitter. I am at Martini Shark. And how about you, Aggie? Where can people find more of your magnificence?
Well, you can find me at Aggie Weekend and at Aggie the Barkeep. Those are over on X. You can also find me here, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Tuesday nights, doing the Cocktail Lounge with you. You can find me Friday nights, except for this Friday, doing He Said, She Said, and also at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Normally with Mickey Blowtorch, but as of late with our awesome producer, Rick. This Friday, I will not be around. I am actually traveling to my sister's because she lives in the path of totality for the solar eclipse. So I'll be sporting my moon dress again. So that should be fun. And once a month, we do Toxic Masculinity, last Wednesday of the month at 8 p.m. Eastern. And it's me, G, Rick, and Ordy. So thanks so much for tuning in, you guys. We hope you have a great evening.
Go raise a glass and look at the ceiling.
Coming up next on The Jitter After Dark, Aggie and Steak and BJ Day. Just kidding.
Well done.
I'm going to hell.
No well done on steak, just saying.